Well, if you decide to build a plow on your riding mower, you're not going to get very far unless you also have a set of tire chains. So let me show you how I built these. So last winter, I built a plow for my riding mower and it turned out great. But I knew I also needed a set of tire chains or else I'd just be spinning my wheels. And I didn't want to buy a set of chains for two reasons. One, cost. You could get some cheap ones for $50, but they go up in price. And two is we have an asphalt driveway and I didn't want to leave tire tread marks all through the asphalt while I was plowing. Before I begin, if you don't have to worry about your driveway, I recommend just buying a set of tire chains. For $50, it's a lot easier than this. This was more work than I thought it would be. Now, I knew I wanted to use rope because it was cheap and it's strong, and it's held up well. Through one season, there's a little bit of wear on them, but I think they'll last many years, the rope itself. The trick was to mount a hub on the inside of the wheel and the outside, strong enough so I could wrap rope around the tire. Now I first thought about making a steel frame, maybe out of rebar or pipe, tried to bend some pipe that would make that radius. Then I could just weld on some pipe or some eyelets to wrap the rope through. It didn't really work and I ended up just trying it with wood, and wood seemed to hold up fine. I just traced the inside of the rim. There were already two holes in my rim that I could bolt through to attach it. And this piece is also on the back side. So for both of these tires, I needed to make 4 mounting points, 4 of these hubcaps. I had to cut out for the inner hub, and then to attach the rope, I just used baling wire, just some cheap Harbor Freight, that spool wire. And I tripled it up and quadrupled it up 4 or 5 times. And that's plenty strong. It's not pulling on the rope, and I know the rope would break or the wood would break before the rope or the metal. So once I got the basic design, it wasn't that hard to build. I just traced it out from a paper cardboard pattern onto the wood, cut it out, mounted it with the bolts. I did have to remove the tires to mount it, to put the bolts through, because you have to put these on both sides. And then you just get some heavy rope, like something like nylon or 3/8 or 1/2 inch thick rope, and you just loop it through. Go through one eyelet, back to the other 4 times, so you end up getting 8 rings around the tire. And I wanted to keep it loose. I thought it would pinch the wire. It didn't turn out to be the case. I should have made this tighter, because as I was driving, this rope would kind of pull down and bind up on itself like this. So you actually want this rope pretty tight. So when I do it again next year, I'm going to really cinch that rope down. Whereas metal chains are connected here on the tire, this has no connection to keep the spacing. It handled fine and I didn't really slip at all, but it has the ability to slide down like that. Another big issue with these, they're a bit of a pain to put on, whereas tire chains, you can just lay them on the ground, drive over them, and pull them up. These, you have to mount this bracket on here, wrap the rope. Again, you're only going to do it once a year, but it was more of a pain than tire chains would have been. It's held up. It didn't mar up the driveway or dig gouges as I was going down the driveway. The traction was great. They didn't really slip. I was thinking about adding weight to the back, either up here or on the back in a milk crate. I didn't really need it unless I was pushing really heavy piles of snow. But then again, this is not a garden tractor. This is just a riding mower. And I don't want to put too much force on this transmission. If you really try to put too much force, you could burn up or break this transmission. So I didn't need to add any weight. And again, anything up to 8 inches of snow, this was fine. Once I started pushing big drifts with it, they slipped a little, or the mower started to bog down. So these weren't the limiting factor, and they were okay for what I was using them for. But even though they were a little hard to change, it's not that bad. You can just pop this tire off, pull the pin, the tire comes right off. You can mount them on there. I might leave them on all year. Leave the hubcaps on here all year and just take off the rope. That way I don't have to take the tire off. And to protect that wood, I painted it with 2 coats of white paint, and then I did polyurethane, a spray and brush on, just so that the water and the snow doesn't get in here and warp it and wreck the wood. There wasn't a lot of force pulling on this wire. I thought there was going to be force pulling on the wire. It's more a lateral force, so it was causing it to bind here. I didn't really see any wear or pulling out of the wire down here. It was more of a force this way and not this way. But overall, I'm really happy with how they turned out. They were a little more work than I would have, and knowing what I know now, if I know that tire chains wouldn't affect my driveway, I would have just bought a set of $50 tire chains. But if you're looking for something basically free, I had the rope, wood, metal. It didn't cost me anything. You could just make 2 little hubcaps, 4 connection points, 4 loops, and then just wrap rope on either side, tie it off, and you're done. And it's worked out great. So let me know what you think. Thanks. Well, I hope you liked the video you just watched. If you did, feel free to subscribe by clicking the button on this side. You can also check out all the videos I've done, the playlist from things I've built, things I've fixed, home repair, 3D printing, and on this side you can check out a recommended video similar to the one you just watched. And as always, down in the description I'll put a link to my blog, which has more pictures and more information about the video you just watched. Thanks.